I've been driving long enough to know that almost nothing on the road happens out of the blue. When things go wrong, it usually starts small. A silly detail, a shortcut, a just this once. This happened in New Mexico, on a dry, windless morning, with that kind of cold that seems to come from the ground. I was driving down from Colorado towards El Paso with a closed truck bed, mixed cargo, nothing glamorous. The kind of freight that just pays the bills. I had already missed my ideal delivery window. I was delayed because a tire started losing pressure in Trinidad and made me stop twice. My watch was ticking. My head was too. I was hungry and had that awful tiredness, not sleepiness, more irritation. You blink and feel like you're too awake to sleep but too slow to drive. The radio only picked up static and sermons. I turned it off. That's when I made the first wrong choice of the night. Instead of staying on the interstate and stopping at a large, well-lit gas station full of cameras, I looked at the GPS and saw a detour that cut off a good few minutes of travel. A state highway, 2 lanes, dark, with nothing but desert, low bushes, and fences that went back and forth aimlessly. The app showed a small 24-hour service area about 20-odd kilometers from that exit. A generic name, like fuel stop. I knew it could be a lie. I knew that a real gas station in the middle of nowhere has lights you can see from afar, parked trucks and activity. Even so, I thought, I'll just fill up, grab a coffee, wash my face, and come back. I left. The state highway looked like a black ribbon thrown on the ground. No lighting. The moon barely visible. My Peterbilt's headlight cut through the signs and the asphalt with a pale cone. I slowed down a little, not out of prudence, but because my instinct began to itch, as if someone had sounded a silent alarm. I drove on for a few more minutes and saw a very faint glow from a place ahead. It wasn't the comfortable glow of a large gas station. It was an irregular light, somewhat yellowish like an old light bulb. When I got closer, I saw a crooked sign hanging from a chain, gas diesel. It looked abandoned, but not entirely. It had 2 old pumps, one of them with plastic tape stuck to the nozzle. The building was low with dark windows and a glass door with faded stickers. The most vibrant thing there was the light from a flickering sign, blinking as if it couldn't decide to stay lit. There were no trucks, no cars, no noise. I should have left right there. I should have turned around without even taking off my seatbelt. The second wrong choice was stopping anyway. I parked the truck sideways away from the pumps out of habit. I got out with my wallet in my pocket and the small flashlight I carry in my vest. The air smelled of cold dust and old fuel. Everything was too quiet. Even the crickets seemed to have disappeared. The building door creaked when I pushed it open. The interior was dark, lit only by a dim fluorescent lamp in the corner, making the snack shelf look like an old set. The counter was empty. The coffee machine was there, but it looked dead. The ice cream freezer was off and had condensation inside. I called out, "Is anyone there?" And the call echoed back to me as if the place was mocking me. No one answered. I saw a balcony bell. I rang it. The sound was thin and off. From the back, behind a half-open door, came a noise. It wasn't footsteps. It was something metallic, dragging lightly. I froze for a second, my body calculating without asking permission. I'm not paranoid. But I've seen people use isolated posts as traps. You learn to sense when the environment is set up. I should have left. Third wrong choice. I walked to the door. I just wanted to see if there was a clerk dozing off. That's all. I gently pushed it with my fingertips and shone the flashlight on it. The room was a narrow storage space with stacked boxes and a corridor leading to the back. And there, right in the corner, I saw an open backpack and a toolbox on the floor. Good tools. Expensive. Not just any old stuff lying around. It was in use. And then I heard a breath. It wasn't mine. I turned the light quickly and caught a glimpse of a reflection in someone's eyes. A face disappeared behind a pile of boxes. I recoiled instantly, without thinking, and returned to the main hall. My hand went straight to the pocket where I keep the truck key, as if the key were a weapon. The front door was right there, just a few meters away. I started walking towards it without running, without making a scene, trying to appear calm. The lamp flickered. At the window, I saw movement outside, in the corner of my field of vision. When I pushed the door open to leave, Someone was already in the parking lot. Two men. One taller, broad-shouldered, dark jacket, the other shorter, hooded, hands in his pockets as if holding something. They were near my truck, not the bombs. Too close. The tall man raised his hand in a gesture that seemed friendly from afar. Up close, it was something else entirely. A false confidence. The certainty of someone who has already decided the ending. He said something, but the wind carried half of it away. I only understood help and problem. I didn't respond with conversation. My body had already made its choice. I went straight to the truck's steps, quickly, trying to close the distance before they arrived. I wanted to be inside the cab with the door locked and the engine running. The hooded man shifted his position and crossed the path, as if he just wanted to get closer to explain. I saw the quick metallic glint in his hand. It wasn't a tool. It was a short blade, one of those that don't reflect much because they don't need to. The tall man flashed a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I felt the blood rush to my stomach. I'd seen highway robberies before, but this was different. There were no witnesses, no cameras, just desert and silence. I stepped onto the first step, and the hand above grabbed my arm forcefully. Really forcefully. He pulled me down, and my foot slipped on the cold metal of the stairs. I hit my knee, felt a sharp pain, and almost fell. I reacted on instinct. Elbow thrown back, trying to hit his chest. I hit something, but didn't knock him down. The hood approached from the side, quickly, and I saw the blade rise. There wasn't time to think. I let go of my arm, threw myself backward, and fell onto the asphalt, scraping my hands. The blade grazed where my arm had been a second before. It wasn't a deep cut, but it grazed lightly, like a warning. That's when I understood what kind of people they were. They weren't desperate thieves, they were predators. I rolled to the side and tried to get up. My knee protested. The tall guy came down on me and kicked my ribs. It wasn't a bar fight. It was a kick to knock my breath out. I heard my own lung fail, and a dry sound escaped me involuntarily. I tried to crawl under the truck because I needed cover. My head was racing through fragments. Key, door, engine, horn, anything to call someone. But there was no one there. The state highway had no traffic. The hood was to the side of the cab as if the truck belonged to him. He looked at the door, the mirrors, the tank, calculating. I realized his intention. They didn't just want my wallet. They wanted the truck. Or the cargo. Or both. And I was just a breathing obstacle. I managed to stand up crookedly and took 2 stumbling steps toward the gas station door, thinking that maybe inside I could lock myself in, grab something, call the police. Another wrong choice, because I was walking into their trap, not out. The tall man grabbed me from behind and pulled me. My coat ripped at the shoulder. He pressed something hard against my neck. It wasn't a blade. It was the short barrel of a gun. The cold pressure there extinguished any attempt at heroism. He spoke softly, close to my ear, without haste. Key. I trembled, not from theatrical fear, but from a body trying to survive. I slowly reached into my pocket and took out the sauce. My breathing sounded like sand. The hooded figure grabbed the key and went straight to the door. He opened it. He went upstairs. I saw the cabin light up for a second, along with the panel. That familiar blue and green glow turned into something strange, as if someone had entered my house. I thought about running. But where to? Open desert, no cover, and me limping, and with a gun to my neck. The tall man pushed me toward the building and pointed with whatever he had in his hand. He wanted to put me inside, isolate me, make me disappear. That's when I stopped obeying. It wasn't courage. It was desperate calculation. If I went into that building, I wouldn't come out. I'd seen news reports of missing truck drivers, trucks found empty miles away. I'd never seen the beginning. Now I was at the beginning. I spun around suddenly and slammed both hands into his arm, trying to deflect the weapon. He was caught off guard. Not enough for me to win, but enough to create a second of chaos. The bang was deafening. The bullet missed me, but struck the glass in the door, which shattered into pieces. The sound echoed across the desert like a death knell. I took advantage of his reflexes and ran as fast as I could toward the side of the truck, passing in front of the fence. My knee felt like it didn't exist. Every step was like a nail. The hood was on the driver's seat, trying to engage the gear. I saw the truck sway when he released the brake. He didn't know my truck. He didn't know the correct position. The truck bed jerked and stalled. I climbed onto the passenger side ladder, my hand slipping on the metal, and pulled hard on the door. The door wouldn't open, locked from the inside. I pounded on the glass, but it was too thick. I yelled, not to convince him, but to turn it into noise, into movement, into a problem. I yelled as if I wanted the whole world to hear. The tall thing came running towards me. I climbed down the ladder and went to the front of the truck where the hood is, and there I saw the only thing in my favor, the air horn, activated by the cable I installed years ago for testing. I reached underneath and pulled hard. The sound exploded in the night, a huge metallic roar that cut through the desert. It wasn't help. It was an invasion. It was a warning. The tall man paused for a second, annoyed, and raised his weapon, pointing it at me. But now it wasn't silence anymore. Now it was too much noise. Far away on the state highway, I saw headlights, 2 points approaching. It wasn't a guarantee of help, but it was a witness. And bandits hate witnesses. The hood tried to start again. The engine sputtered. I saw him look at the dashboard as if he didn't understand. The tall guy looked at the headlights and cursed something, his voice breaking. He gestured urgently toward the hood. The hood slipped off the steering wheel and slid out of the cab on the driver's side. The two ran into the darkness, toward a pickup truck I hadn't even seen, parked behind the building, hidden from my view. They disappeared quickly. Professional, trained, or simply used to it. The headlights that were coming on were from an old pickup truck with 2 guys inside. They slowed down when they saw my truck blocking the road and the broken window. They didn't get out quickly because nobody gets out quickly at a scene that smells of trouble. I raised my hands and stood still, breathing shallowly, trying not to fall. I told them they had tried to rob me, that they had a gun, that they had run away. I saw their expressions change, that look of someone who's heard a similar story before and knows the place was wrong from the start. The police took their time. Too long. When they finally showed up, it was all empty. The place was quiet again, as if no one had ever been there. In the end, all that remained was my swollen knee, a burning cut on my arm, and the certainty that stays with me to this day. New Mexico doesn't need ghosts to become nightmares. It only needs one wrong turn, a flashing light, and a man willing to run you off the road. And the cruelest part is this: I wasn't chosen for who I was. I was chosen because I strayed from the right path, because I stopped where I shouldn't have, because I thought I could save a few minutes. On the road, sometimes a few minutes can cost everything. If you're enjoying these chilling stories, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any more terrifying tales to come. Now, get ready for another journey down dark and mysterious roads. I learned early on that the Arizona desert doesn't need monsters. It just needs silence. That morning, US 191 was a black streak cutting through rock and sand. No oncoming traffic lights, no city lights, no decent radio reception. I was coming from Phoenix with dry cargo heading north, late, stubborn, and tired. The dashboard showed 2:11 a.m. when I saw the glare that didn't match the rest of the nothingness. Hazard lights. A dark sedan was stopped on the shoulder, hood up, everything too tidy. Next to it, a man stood motionless, waiting. I instinctively eased off the accelerator and moved further to the left. My first thought was simple: don't stop. My second thought was the one that always puts people in their graves. What if it's someone who really needs help? I drove straight past. In the rearview mirror, I saw the man raise his arm in a slow plea, as if I were his only option. The road was so empty that it felt personal. I drove another 400 meters or so and pulled over. I didn't turn off the truck. Interior light off, door only half open so I could get back quickly. I grabbed my flashlight and got out, angry at myself. I walked back across the gravel, sweeping the ground and the undergrowth with the light, searching for reflections of metal, searching for movement. The man came towards me too quickly, as if he were afraid I would change my mind. Thank God. My car died. Out of nowhere. No signal. I need to get to Kayenta, man. Thin, sparse beard, light-colored t-shirt. He spoke quickly, but his eyes never stayed on me. They slid to the road, to my truck, to the darkness. People in trouble look to you like a lifeline. He looked at me like he was measuring me. "Are you alone?" I asked, making no attempt to hide my tone. He hesitated for a moment. "My wife's over there, feeling unwell. We just needed a battery cable. Anything." I pointed the flashlight inside before approaching. In the passenger seat, a woman with her head down, hair covering her face, hands in her lap. She didn't look. She didn't react. That was the first chill I felt in my stomach. I told him I didn't have a cable, and that I could let him know at the next gas station when I got a signal. He made room under the hood as if I were a mechanic. "Just take a look. I think the cable is loose. It'll be quick, I swear." "It'll be quick" is the favorite phrase of anyone trying to drag you into a situation. I stood 2 meters from the engine, feigning interest, just trying to find a way to leave without arguing. He insisted on bringing me closer, pointing at nonsensical things, as if he wanted my head inside that hood so someone could come from behind. "Do you have a tool?" he asked. "I have it in the truck." "I'm not going to get it," I replied curtly. He changed his target immediately. "So I said, give me a ride to a place with a signal. I'll pay." "Just me." "She stays." The way he said "just me" confirmed to me that it wasn't desperation. It was negotiation. "I don't take anyone," I replied. "It's my policy." His smile appeared, but it didn't reach his eyes. Okay, then stay here with her for a minute. I'm going to go out on the road to see if there's a signal." "Just a minute." He pointed into the darkness as if there were a curve. I had just passed it and knew it was straight for a good stretch. Even so, he had already started to walk away. The woman remained motionless. I felt that old sensation of being in the wrong place, making the wrong decision. And before I could take a step to leave, I heard a sharp click behind me, near my truck. I turned my head and saw a shadow by the side of the trailer, like someone crouching down to avoid being seen. The man stopped walking. He didn't seem confused. He seemed to be waiting. "Hey," I said loudly, shining my flashlight on the shadow. "Who's there?" The response came like a blow. Something heavy hit my ribs from behind. The flashlight flew out, hit the asphalt, and started spinning, throwing light in all directions. The air left me. I fell to my knees and felt hands grabbing my arm, twisting it, trying to forcibly lift me up. "Inside!" "Now!" A voice growled in my ear. They wanted to take me somewhere I wouldn't return. I fought back the ugly way I could. I kicked, I bit, I crawled on the gravel. My hand found the small pocket knife I used to open belts. I didn't open it to be a hero. I opened it to buy myself a second of doubt. That second was enough for me to see the detail that destroyed me. The woman on the bench lifted her head and looked directly at me. Her eyes were wide awake, clear, with no hint of illness. And she smiled briefly, as if confirming that the bait had worked. "Grab the truck keys," she said calmly. "And his phone." It wasn't a typical robbery. It was a truck robbery, a cargo robbery, a robbery of people. One of the men reached into my pocket looking for the carabiner on my key. I felt fingers pulling, trying to break the clip. I threw myself back and slammed onto the open hood, pushing hard. The hood came down and hit him in the face. He staggered, and I managed to pull the key to my side. I ran heavily, without elegance, toward the truck. I heard footsteps behind me. I heard a low curse. I heard someone say "shoot" in a nervous whisper. I saw a metallic glint in someone's hand, reflecting the headlights of my own truck. I stepped onto the step, bumped my knee, almost fell. I went inside, pulled the door shut, and locked it. The whole world seemed to stay outside. They arrived banging on the glass and the metal. One hand pulled the door handle. Another tried to force the door seal. The thank God man appeared in my rearview mirror near the driver's side window, talking as if it were still a conversation. Open it, and nobody gets hurt." I didn't answer. I turned the key. The engine took half a second, which felt like an eternity. It started. I put it in gear and drove off. The truck lurched, and I felt something hit the bumper as if someone had tried to climb onto the outside step. In the side mirror, I saw the woman getting out of the sedan with an unsettling calm, walking to the shoulder like someone retrieving a forgotten purse. She wasn't running. She wasn't yelling. She was managing the situation. The sedan closed its hood crookedly and followed behind. They stuck to me and backed away, trying to force me to make a mistake. I tried calling 911. No signal, just the empty icon on the panel. I picked up the microphone from the CB radio, more out of habit than hope. Brake. Any drivers in the Kayenta area? I'm being chased. I need help just hissing. The sedan swerved to the left, almost touching my trailer. I held the center of the lane and let the weight of the truck do the work. They tried to go to the right on the shoulder, kicking rocks up in the air. I heard cracking noises in the trailer's metal. An object hit my rearview mirror and I saw the mirror vibrate, almost breaking. It wasn't meant to kill me there. It was meant to knock me out of control, to put me on the ground. I was thinking about distance, not speed, about keeping the truck intact, about getting anywhere with lights and a camera. When the climb began, I downshifted to maintain torque and kept a constant speed. The sedan started to lose momentum. The gap widened. I almost believed I had escaped. And then they did the most dangerous thing. They turned off the headlights. The rearview mirror turned into a black hole. People who give up disappear in another way. Headlights off are for getting close without being seen. I strained my eyes in the mirrors, trying not to lose sight of what was ahead. My throat felt dry. I heard my own heart beating louder than the engine. A quick reflex to the right, at the edge of the trailer. They were on the shoulder without light, using the glare from my truck to orient themselves. They were trying to pull alongside and force me into the ditch. I didn't do anything crazy. I just maintained my line and increased my speed a little. To get past the shoulder on that surface, they would have needed to accelerate more than the car could handle. The sedan pulled up alongside, trembling, rocks hitting the side of my trailer. I saw its rear end slip when the driver overcorrected. Then it vanished from my sight with a dry sound of metal scraping against a rock and a tire bursting. I didn't look back. I kept going. I drove for another 10-15 minutes without knowing if they had returned to the road or if they were waiting further ahead. In certain stretches of the desert, you can't see anything beyond what the headlights allow, and that makes anything a possibility. When I saw the lights of an isolated gas station, I entered the yard like someone fleeing a fire. I parked sideways, honked, and an attendant came out with the expression of someone who understood before even hearing. A couple in a pickup truck stopped to look. I felt no pride at that moment, I just wanted witnesses. With a weak signal, I called 911 and told them everything at once. Car, hood, wife, scam, gun, chase, headlights out. I asked them to send someone quickly because I didn't know if they would show up. When I hung up, I realized my hands were shaking so much I could barely hold the phone. The police showed up later. A trooper looked at my truck with a flashlight, saw the dent in the door and the mark on the bumper. I saw his face change when I told him about the woman's smile, as if he'd heard it before. "Did you touch anything?" he asked. "Just at the door. I just ran." He took notes, asked for a description, inquired about the license plate. I couldn't remember. I remembered the hazard lights, the hood, the calm demeanor. "Why did you stop?" he finally asked. I didn't get a nice response. They returned to the indicated spot and found tracks in the gravel and a tire blowout trail leading into the desert. They didn't find the sedan. They didn't find anyone, not even the woman. I finished the delivery in Utah with my body aching and my head empty. On paper, I fulfilled my duty. In real life, I had missed something small that I didn't even know existed, the idea that helping is always safe. The following week, when I went to open the trailer in a parking lot to unload, I saw something that gave me a new chill. The door seal, the numbered plastic one, had a thin mark, as if someone had tried to cut it and then reattach it. They hadn't stolen anything, but they had touched it. They had enough time to test how long it would take me to notice. Enough time to learn my pattern. I replaced all the seals. I bought an extra lock. I started carrying a battery cable again just so I wouldn't have an excuse to get close to anyone. I started only stopping in places with cameras, and even then, sometimes, in the middle of the night, when the radio is static and the road is too slippery, I grip the steering wheel harder. Today, when I see a car stopped at night with its hazard lights on, I don't stop. I slow down, observe from a distance, and continue until I find a place with people. And from time to time, the desert brings back to me the memory of that woman's smile, simple and cold, as if it were just another shift at work. In Arizona, in the dark, this is the closest thing to a monster I've ever seen. I'll never forget the sound a tire makes when it starts to die in the middle of nowhere. It's not a clean psss. It's a harsh snort, like the desert is drinking the air out of your truck. That morning in the Mojave, when I saw the sedan stopped with its hazard lights flashing and the driver's door open, I didn't stop out of kindness. I stopped because I thought I was in control. I've been driving for almost 15 years. Enough time to learn that the road doesn't kill you out of malice, it kills you out of pride. I was driving through Eastern California, heading down the Mojave Mountains toward Arizona with a load of appliances. Tight budget, little money, and one detail I kept putting off: weak headlights. In normal traffic, you can ignore it. In the desert, you notice every meter you can't see. It was almost an hour before dawn when the hazard lights appeared in the darkness. A dark sedan, parked awkwardly, without a warning triangle, with no one around. The interior light was on, which is the strangest thing someone does when they need help. Turn on the headlights, turn on the flashlights, stay outside. Don't leave the door open like a mouth. I slowed down and stopped some distance away. High beams shone on the back of the car. I sat there for a few seconds, weighing the situation. My head said, "Keep going." My body said, "If someone's trapped there, you're going to carry this." I got out the right way. Door on my side, flashlight in hand, tire iron as a crutch of courage. The cold Mojave wind passed silently, and the silence was so dry that I could hear my footsteps on the gravel. The sedan's interior was too clean. The driver's seat was pulled back. The charger was hanging, no cups, no papers. On the floor, near the pedal, there was a piece of metal. It looked like a thick nail, cut straight with a sharp point. I looked closer and saw others scattered in the dust around the car like crumbs. That's when I heard it. A muffled thud, coming from the rear. Another. Then a human sound. Low, controlled, like someone trying not to make a sound. I should have gone back to the truck. I should have locked the door and driven away. But the road teaches a twisted kind of responsibility. If you don't act, nobody will. I went to the trunk. The lock was scratched. When I touched it, there was a loud bang and a hoarse voice whispered, "Open, please." I looked at the highway. Nothing was coming. No traffic lights, no noise. The night seemed deliberately empty. "I'll open it slowly," I said. The lid lifted and the smell came out first. Old sweat, dust, and fear. A man was inside, eyes wide, mouth cracked, hands tied in front. He gasped for air as if returning to life. "They'll be back," he said. "Who?" I asked, already taking half a step back. "Two. White pickup truck. No license plate on the back. They puncture truck tires, make you get out. If you insist, they'll take you." I felt the cold pass right through my skin. I looked at the nails on the ground and understood that the sedan wasn't a victim, it was a tool. I pulled the man out and started leading him toward my semi. He was limping, clinging to me as if I were a wall. On the way, I saw in the distance a quick flash like metal catching light. Headlights off, moving. "Get in," I ordered, and I went up into the cabin with him. Door slammed shut. Lock. My heart felt too big for my chest. I shifted gears to leave, and the dashboard light came on, front tire pressure dropping. Quickly. The truck lowered a little. They had already done it. Not on the rear axle, which can handle it. On the front axle, which controls everything. I tried the radio. Just static. No signal in that area. In the rearview mirror, the white pickup truck appeared on the shoulder, pulling in smoothly, without headlights, as if it already knew the way. It stopped at a calm distance. Their calmness was what angered me. Two men got off the bus. One was wearing a cap. The other was carrying a bag. They walked as if they owned the place. I sped up. The car pulled. The steering wheel became heavy. The tire on the rim started squealing on the asphalt. I held onto my lane tightly, trying not to swerve too much. The pickup truck came up behind me patiently without touching me. They were waiting for me to crash. The only useful thing there was a sign. Rest area a few kilometers away. Dim light is light. I needed anywhere with space and some chance of finding someone. The pickup truck pulled alongside for a few seconds. I saw the cap, the hard face, and the passenger's arm pointing toward the shoulder of the road. Pull over. A simple gesture like an old command. I didn't answer. I just kept going. I entered the rest area slowly so as not to lose the truck. 2 yellow lampposts illuminated an oversized parking lot. There was an old car parked in the back and a small, unused trailer. A concrete bathroom door closed. Silence again. The pickup truck pulled in behind them. Listen, I told the man next to me. When I speak, you come down to my side and run to the bathroom. Shout, bang on the door, make noise. Don't stop. He nodded, trembling. The 2 men came walking. One of them already had his weapon lowered, in no hurry to hide it. The one with the cap smiled. Don't complicate things, he said loudly, as if the conversation were normal. Nobody listens here. I opened the window a little and lied. I've already called the police. He chuckled briefly, and I saw that the lie hadn't bought anything. They were used to being alone. I needed a tough decision. I lined up the semi-truck facing a low concrete barrier that separated the parking lot from an area of dirt and rocks, where the pickup truck would have difficulty getting through. It wasn't an official exit, it was just a no. Now, I said. The man got out and ran. I released the brake and moved forward. The truck slammed against the barrier with a sharp thud, trembled all over, and fell onto the hard ground on the other side. The tire scraped against the rim, but held on. Behind, the pickup truck tried to continue and sank into a shallow ditch. Wheels spun, dust rose. I saw the guy with the bag open the lid and take out more nails as if it were a job. They didn't just want to stop me. They wanted to hold me there until I gave up. The man in the bathroom was banging on the door and shouting. I didn't know if anyone was inside, but the sound was what mattered. Sound attracts attention. I honked. I honked incessantly, using the semi-automatic horn as a desperate siren. The sound cut through the desert, long, aggressive, impossible to ignore. And then came a different, distant noise, growing louder, a heavy engine on the highway, headlights appearing. The 2 men looked at the track. Their posture changed instantly. They didn't want witnesses. They didn't want lights. They wanted silence. They pushed the pickup truck out of the ditch with momentum and drove away without headlights, returning to the highway like a shadow. The truck that was coming pulled slowly into the rest area. A truck driver got out, tall, with a thick jacket, a face that looked like he'd seen it all. He looked at my half-crooked side on the ground, the destroyed tire, the man tied up near the bathroom. "What the hell is that?" he asked. "Trap," I replied, and my voice came out higher than I intended. He pulled out his cell phone, walked a few meters, raised his arm until he got a signal and called. The CHP arrived as the dawn broke through the sky. They collected nails from the asphalt and the parking lot. They said they had received reports before, but almost never with someone alive to tell the tale. Before getting out of the truck, I did what I always do when something seems wrong. I left my cell phone in my pocket, left the cab lit from the inside, and kept the engine running. Good people turn off the truck to save diesel. Smart people keep the machine ready to go. When I saw the nails, my brain tried to rationalize. Maybe it's construction debris, but there's no construction in that stretch of road, and nails thrown on the shoulder don't stay aligned next to the open door of a clean sedan. The road has its own dirt. It looked like it was scattered there intentionally. The man in the trunk couldn't say where he'd come from. He just kept repeating that he'd stopped to help someone, and when he got out, the 2 of them appeared out of nowhere, silent, as if they'd already been hiding in the dark. He said they didn't shout. They weren't very threatening. They just gave orders and waited for you to understand you had no choice. The coldness with which he said this was proof that he'd already seen the worst. When the pickup truck pulled alongside me on the road, I noticed a detail that disgusted me. They were too calm for someone who needs to steal. This wasn't desperation, it was habit. It was work. And at that moment, I understood that the sedan was just the bait. The flat tire was the trap. After the other truck driver arrived and called the police, I finally noticed my hands. They were trembling, but it wasn't pure fear. It was the release from having made decisions too quickly, too often. You don't realize it at the time. The body holds it back. Then it takes its toll. The CHP arrived with 2 patrol cars. One of them walked up to the sedan and photographed everything before touching anything. Another picked up the nails with gloves and put them in a bag. They asked me if I had a camera in the truck. I had an old dash cam, more for insurance than for video. And I almost laughed because I knew that if the lens hadn't caught the truck in the dark, I would have heard the phrase everyone hears. No license plate, no face, no proof. Even so, the police officer said something that stuck in my mind. These kinds of people count on you feeling ashamed for having stopped. They count on you not wanting to get involved. If you testify, you'll make things worse. I signed paperwork, filed a report, and watched the sedan being towed away as well. The rescued man was taken for treatment, and before leaving he thanked me in such a low voice it seemed like he was apologizing for having existed that night. I responded with a nod, because I didn't have a good phrase. Nothing sounds right after you look into the darkness and it answers you. When the sun finally came out, the Mojave looked beautiful, and that was almost the worst part, because it showed that danger didn't lurk in magical shadows. It lurked in people using a piece of road as a trap in the simplest way possible. I replaced my headlights that same week. I changed the tires, the suspension, whatever broke underneath. But you can't replace the feeling of an open door in the dark. Even today, when I see a hazard light flashing on by itself, I feel my hand gripping the steering wheel before my head can even decide what to do. Today, when I see a car pulled over in the dark with its door open, I don't think about getting help first. I think about whoever wants me to stop. And I keep going. Because in the Mojave, the road doesn't forgive those who confuse courage with curiosity.